How many of y'all know you do what Melanee says? Raise your hands, please. All right, say hallelujah. Okay. I am comforted king. I am Melanie's almost nearly daddy. All right. Her Serene Majesty, the Queen of my life, Miss Judy. Yeah. All right.
Yes, Elizabeth, to say something?
To say hi. Say hi.
Melanee says I can say hi. I also wanted to share with you that I am here to rejoice tonight in the recovery of many very near and dear to me. Their recovery, I rejoice in that.
Amen.
Right here, right now,
Amen.
for sure.
Go ahead, Dad. I'm going to put this here, and then we'll do some prayer time. How about that?
Okay, all right.
Oh, you need that.
Take a hand, darling. Tell you what, get on the other side where she can be facing the crowd.
Yes, sir. And you also do what Dad says, too.
Father God, thank you for this precious woman in our lives these 20-some years. Lord, thank you for who you have been, what you have done in raising our daughter up to you. Draw her closer. Lord Spirit, speak over her, through her this night. And Lord, that these hearts, these ears would hear, receive, be encouraged, find hope. And thank you, Lord, that in the book of Proverbs it says that a blessed parent is one who has a child that gains wisdom and follows the Lord through Jesus and in the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Well, good evening, CR family. I'm one of King Yeshua's warrior princesses. Yep, that's a hoorah. There you go. That too. I'm celebrating recovery from abuse and neglect, and my name is Melanee. And that's Melanee with 2 E's on the end and no I, as if y'all didn't know that. Before starting recovery in 1995, I had lived with homosexual feelings for over 30 years, and I lived with a lesbian identity for over 16 years. My story of Papa rescuing me from the miry clay, you got to say that with a southern Georgia accent, the miry clay of homosexuality, pornography, masturbation, sexual fantasies, and lying, started when I was finally willing to admit something about myself. The idol I needed to admit was so terrifying to me, I had never been willing to own it. The stronghold, or the stranglehold, was just 3 words. I was wrong. Growing up, I survived over 13 years of sexual, physical, emotional abuse and neglect by dissociating. In extremely simplistic terms, it means I disconnected my emotions and developed alter personalities to deal with the horrifically painful trauma. Because of the abuse, I hated being a girl. And I definitely believed it was not safe to be female. And due to the ways the main perpetrator sexually abused me, I literally viewed myself as a boy from a very young age. I constantly lived in fear of men. Actually, I was scared of just about everybody, including God and myself. By the time I was in 9th grade, I was using sexual fantasies, pornography, and masturbation as ways to attempt to deal with my stress and anxiety. In reality, those addictions did not make the pain go away. They were more like throwing gasoline on a fire, like a bonfire, and actually making my pain much worse. Can you relate? Towards the end of my senior year in high school, at the mature age of 17, I told God I was a lesbian. After graduating in 1979, I moved to Miami, Florida on a college volleyball scholarship and began living in what I then called freedom to finally be me, a way out of the closet, radical lesbian feminist dyke. Yes, that is how I would have described myself. Fast forward to my being born again on Monday, 23 December 1985. Yeah. That's right. That's a high five to Papa. Everything about my life immediately changed in radical ways. It was amazing. Man, wow. Well, Everything changed except for one thing: my sexual feelings. I didn't know what to do about them. Although I did turn away from my homosexual behavior, I did not deal with the emotional wounds driving my lesbian feelings. So I returned to my old way of living in 1988. Except this time when I wore the dyke t-shirt in public, I did. It was as a Christian sharing the watered-down gospel of Jesus loves you and sin really isn't sin. The way I lived was just another version of what the enemy said in Genesis 3. Did God really say? But then, thankfully, my life began to unravel. My gay-identified brother died from AIDS in November 1991, which literally propelled me into a depression unlike any I had ever experienced before. All my usual coping mechanisms were shot to pieces. Think machine gun. My life was terribly shaken, and I did not know how to put it back together again. I did not know how to live anymore. But God, He knew what I needed to jumpstart me into experiencing true freedom. I had been in couple counseling with my lesbian partner for a few years. Wait. Not because I had any problems. My first therapist is here to guarantee you that I came in with that arrogant attitude. I did not have any problems, but my partner did. I became because she had problems, and I was willing to help her get better. Yes, I was. Good Christian that I was. Self-serving and arrogant I was. But Papa, again, once knew how to get my attention, because he did use my partner, who was a registered nurse, by the way, to say these radically challenging words to me in the late summer of 1995. Melanee, you're dead. You're a flatliner. You don't feel. Okay, that's going to sound good on the recording. What? I arrogantly thought. That's a bunch of BS. You do not know what you're talking about. But then, I looked over at my therapist, who was nodding her head in agreement with my partner's evaluation of me. Well, I continued my egotistical internal tirade, silently negating what was being said by the two people who knew me the best. And for those of you new to recovery, my arrogant refusal to accept reality is the epitome of denial. Oh, man, I was hoping y'all would get right there. Yes. After hearing my partner's laser-sharp words, an amazing miracle happened slowly inside my heart. I considered something I'd never been willing to think about before. Maybe I was wrong. But I didn't tell anybody. Not yet, anyway. You see, my problem was not just that I was terrified of being wrong. It was actually much bigger. Because of the abuse, I hated the idea of feeling helpless, powerless, stupid, or less than. In other words, I was terrified of needing help. Adding to the fear wounds, I had plenty of pride in my heart. Have you ever noticed how much fear and pride can look alike? Well, as I said, I could not stand the idea of my being wrong, but nothing changes if nothing changes. Y'all didn't get that. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Oh, nice, y'all did good. So until I was willing to risk being wrong and asking for as much help as was needed to think differently and live differently, then I was going to stay in denial. And believe me when I say denial is a miserable place to be. Shortly after those flatliner words were spoken to me, I prayed a loud and desperate prayer, and for your ears, I will not scream it as loudly as I did then, but it was something like this. God, I just want to be the woman you created me to be. And then I began meeting with my therapist by myself. I was finally willing to consider I possibly might have a problem. And if I did, that's a big if, then the problem might be me. That day was 1 September 1995, and that, my dear CR family, was the day what I call real recovery, because it's when I first admitted I had a problem. Step one. And it's also when I was finally willing to do whatever it takes to experience God's passionate, pure, and powerful love, even with a terribly battered, wounded heart. After starting recovery, my therapist challenged me in a zillion ways, but the very first area was regarding my perceptions. Actually, what she confronted me on were my misperceptions, the lies I believed about Papa, myself, and me and him together. As I profusely studied his written word and pounded and cried on his chest and screamed out my heart's pain to him, he did what I could never do for myself. He cleansed and healed my heart from the sexual, physical, emotional abuse and neglect. He literally put my shattered heart's pieces, my altered personalities, back together again in an amazingly colorful cowgirl mosaic. In other words, he kept his word to bind up the brokenhearted. My recovery process was, and still is, both him doing only what he can do, cleansing and healing me of the wounds and idols in my life, and me doing what he said was mine to do, to risk trusting and obeying him regardless of the outcome. Now those are good boundaries. After a number of years into recovery, my fear of men, and all people actually, started diminishing, and my use of porn, sexual fantasies, and masturbation significantly decreased. Although my fears and addictive behaviors were changing, this is a good thing, what Papa actively reminded me of was his main purpose. He was pursuing me so I can know him and the deepest parts of my heart, who I was and whose I was, according to him. Well, as I experienced his delightful pursuit of me, picture a little girl playing chase with her good, safe daddy, I began to no longer view myself as a boy and was beginning to love being a girl. That's what I'm talking about. As King Yeshua faithfully cleansed and healed my hurting, shattered heart, he transformed my view of myself as being a tough dyke to being his beautiful, brave, beloved warrior princess, kingdom daughter, cowgirl, oorah. Okay. In short, Papa's spirit was teaching me why I was fearful, and then showing me I could choose to stop attempting to control people, places, and things by listening to him instead of my fears. My initial Celebrate Recovery experience was at the very first Tallahassee meeting, in this room, as a matter of fact, in the early fall of 2003. By then, I was no longer having any sexual abuse flashbacks, and through Papa's great love, I had forgiven the 4 perpetrators. Truly a miracle. Now, through the forgiveness process, I learned an important truth. Forgiving an unrepentant person does not equal trusting them. That truth transformed my world. Well, now Papa has used all the parts of CR, worship, testimonies, teaching, small groups, step study, service, fellowship, and Clay's popcorn. That's right, yeah, we eat the popcorn. To make it possible for me to celebrate being completely clean from masturbation, sexual fantasies, and porn since 13 November 2008. Woohoo! Okay, regarding my being afraid of people, Papa has used and still uses numerous male CR leaders to continue to reduce my fear of men. He has given me a super fantastic adopted dad who is truly one of my heroes. That's right here. In addition to the godly men in my life, Papa has used many of the CR's healthy women to let me know I am truly one of the girls. A number of women in this room, along with my former adopted mom, were powerfully used by Papa to transform my fear of physically touching other women and being touched by them. Thank you, Papa. And thank you all. That's all y'all. Now, One of the great things about recovery is it's never boring. It is never boring because there are always deeper places in my heart to discover. In 2012, Papa revealed how I sometimes still lie. He called it talking out of fear. Ever since I started sharing about my problem at CR, yes, my fear-based talking and my fear-based silence immediately began to diminish. Whew. And today, because of what my good Father has done in the deepest parts of my heart, I rarely talk out of fear anymore, but I'm still learning. For example, earlier this year, I verbally pushed someone. I did this after allowing others to push me relationally. It was horrible. But that following Friday, I took a blue chip on 2 February for no more pushing. But how did I get to where I am today? If I had to choose only one thing, it would be I knew that I knew that I knew I was loved. I was loved by a good mommy and a good daddy God. And although it took me a lot, oh my goodness, a lot of basking in his great love for me, I eventually discovered something. I have a voice. What I mean by this is, I had kept silent for decades about the abuse and neglect, but through recovery, through listening and embracing Papa's voice, I've learned to no longer be silent about the horrific traumas perpetrated against me, as well as confessing the sins I've perpetrated. In other words, I can now voice all my fears and feelings, and I can even voice the dreams I have for my life. One of my ongoing dreams is to actively demonstrate my love for Papa, as King Yeshua did, by obeying his Father's instructions. So on 23 January of 2015, I began following the Hebrew roots of my faith. One of the things I'm learning by living inside Papa's boundaries is how imperative it is to have healthy boundaries in order to truly give and receive love. Y'all, this is amazing stuff. I'm serious. All right. Well, you may be wondering about my more current struggles because, this is CR, we talk about this stuff. For starters, I still have difficulty in obeying Papa's calling upon my life, writing and speaking on a consistent basis. Laziness, as in not exercising, and lack of focus continue to wreak havoc on me, and the horrific pit of depression can hit me upside the head, sometimes really hard. As a matter of fact, I've experienced depression as far back as I can remember, and yet I am currently celebrating 30 days today, clean from feelings of depression. Woo! All right, I got to keep going, sorry. All right, so truly, my life is radically different than before CR because now I have an amazing recovery team of 10 people, 10, that's just the bare minimum 10, who help me to walk upright and to not allow shame to dictate who I am or whose I am. Some of you newcomers might be asking, in a nutshell, what helped you, Melanee D? I'm so glad you asked. Desperation and rigorous honesty, for starters. Getting help, no matter the time of day or night. Picking up the 500-pound phone. Talking and talking some more, regardless of how I felt. Journaling until my hand hurt. Going to meetings, lots of them. A ton of reading Papa's Word, along with powerful recovery books. Only trusting trustworthy people and not trusting untrustworthy ones. And my all-time favorite, no secrets. Because I'm only as sick as my secrets. Oh, y'all are good. You also might ask, what words of encouragement do you have to offer someone when they're hurting from a ton of pain? First of all, if that's you here tonight, I'm so sorry you're hurting. I am so sorry you're hurting. And if any of you have ever been abused or neglected, please know this. You are not to blame. Not to blame for being abused or neglected. One recovery tool that has helped me is my rewritten version of one of our CR sayings. We usually say it at the end of small group. Keep coming back to Papa. He works in you when you rest in him. So let him do his work in you because he says you're worth it. Even with all these recovery tools, the question remains, what are we to do with our misperceptions? Papa says, don't worry. Why does he say to not worry? Well, our closing song makes it clear who Papa says he is and who he says each one of us are when we trust him, when we surrender to him to be our perfectly good, safe, trustworthy dad. Now, that may be scary to some of y'all tonight. I get that. No worries. Papa knows you're scared, and he's very patient. Remember, it's all about boundaries. Our job is to rest in him, while he does his job of binding up our broken hearts. As we listen to the last song, I'm going to ask my good, good Father to answer your question. What do I do with all the pain? As you're listening, I have a question for you, if you're willing to consider it. Is there a possibility you might be wrong in your current perceptions of God as a truly good daddy, as well as admitting you might be wrong in how you see yourself and you and him together? If you're willing to risk even a little bit, then go to him with your pain and allow him to speak truth into the deepest parts of your heart. And starting tonight, I cannot encourage you strongly enough to regularly ask him, invite him to do whatever it takes to soften your heart towards him, his word, and his will in every area of your life, no matter what it costs. If this is your heart's desire, you will never be the same again because Papa keeps his promises. He keeps his word, and you will be transformed by his great love.
Melanee lovingly refers to God as Papa because he faithfully showed himself to be the only good father, the only perfect parent. As she likes to say, he truly is a good mommy and daddy God. A few of the ways Papa has demonstrated his great love to her are through his written word, the Bible, or Tanakh in Hebrew, his living word, Yeshua, his creation, and directly to her heart through his Ruach, Hebrew for spirit or breath.
Papa beautifully cleansed, healed, strengthened, and matured Melanee's wounded, shattered heart from the horrific effects of over 13 years of childhood sexual, physical, and emotional abuse and neglect.
Melanee experienced PTSD, dissociation, gender identity confusion, homosexual feelings, and depression for over 30 years. Additionally, she lived with a gay identity for over 16 years.
Melanee started recovery on 1 September 1995.
And ever since then, she cannot say enough about Papa's phenomenal faithfulness in redeeming and restoring her to relational wholeness in every area of her life, specifically emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, and spiritually.
So she can live the abundant life as the amazing woman he created her to be.
His beautiful, brave, beloved warrior princess, kingdom daughter cowgirl.
Melanee has been following Torah, Hebrew for instruction, since 23 January 2015. She often says she doesn't know how she lived before becoming born again on 23 December 1985. And she also doesn't know how she used to live without celebrating Papa's anointed times, his Shabbat, feasts, and festivals. Hallelujah.
If Melanee's story strikes a chord in you, whether of encouragement or anger, hope or despair, joy or fear, please know she would like to hear from you. Truly.
In order for Melanee to open the door of online communication, she is implementing the following mature and healthy MAH communication boundaries. This way, People can share their own stories while honoring and respecting the boundaries she has worked long and hard to develop.
Only mature and healthy communication allowed. For example, no cussing or insulting or attacking or derogatory or slang words, symbols, emojis, pics, etc. Said another way, keep it clean.
If you want to share your story, she would love to hear from you.
If you want to debate, she won't. That's not what this platform is for. If you share anything in a sexually graphic manner, she won't read it and you will be blocked. Remember, KIC, keep it clean.
If you share your story and keep it clean, it will be read and possibly be responded to. If you share someone else's story, that is unacceptable. It will definitely not be responded to.
Summary of MAH communication boundaries.
If you share only your story and keep it clean as previously explained, then Melanee would love to hear from you. She possibly may respond. Thank you.
And here's a short message from Melanee.
Yo, how's it going? Do you know you have just spent 20 plus minutes watching a video, and I do not take that for granted. Anyone using their limited time and energy to watch that much, thank you. And now you've endured, well, I don't know if it's endured or not, but you endured a bibliography of sorts with some of my supportive team reading it, and you got through all that. And now, what? There's more to this video? Yep, here I am. And you know what? Guess what? It's 75 days later. Okay, not quite 75 days later since my testimony. It's 45 days since my testimony. But as of this posting, going on my YouTube channel on Monday, 16 July 2018, it will be 75 days. Yes, I am so excited. Woohoo, baby! That's a little shaking, moving, deep shoulder movement, little Whoopi Goldberg moment stuff. Okay, just never mind about that. Anyway, the bottom line is this. Here I am, experiencing something I've never experienced before. 75 good days in a row. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging on me. I'm talking about the one who makes it possible. God himself, the King of the universe, the Lord of all. Yep, he made it possible. And he continues to make it possible, not only for me not going into depression. Now, I've had 5 days, 5 times of being tempted into depression. Yes, I love to count. And as you heard on the all the readings that you just did, yes, I love acronyms too. MAH, KIC, yeah, keep it clean, that kind of stuff. Oh, speaking of keeping it clean, if you decide to write, if you decide to share your story with me, please know this. I get it. That's a huge, huge risk on your part. And I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for honoring me and blessing me with your story. Now, if you decide not to share, that's cool too, you know. But if you do decide to share, wow, that will be amazing. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you follow the MAH communication boundaries. Just slid that one in there. All right, so what's this about? This is about me saying thank you. This is about me saying that you hear from me personally to invite you to write, to communicate, to let me know what's going on in your life. This is a time where I also particularly want to share one thing. Like, how come I have all these victories in my life for decades, but depression was kicking my butt? Well, that's too long for this video. But what I can do is sum it up in just a few words. So there's 5 times I was talking about when I was tempted. So the first couple of times it was like this. Check this out. So I wake up exhausted. Yes, some of you can probably relate. Waking up exhausted. And then all I want to do is go into depression. I just want to disappear. And all I remember is I'd been talking to a friend like in the past few weeks a number of times about the same thing. And the same thing is this. It's like, I have a rule. Henry Cloud. I love Henry Cloud. So if you haven't checked him out, check him out, okay? So he says, he gave a scenario where this one time somebody was accosting him, and he just said to this person, I have a rule. Who says that to anybody? So that stopped the person. And he said, I have a rule. I do not talk to, and then he named off what this person's problem was, and I'm not going to break that, anonymity and confidentiality, but the person stopped. And all Henry was talking about was his own boundaries, right? He would not talk. And so now I started practicing that. I call that my self-intervention. And so I have more than one self-intervention now, but my favorite one is, wait, stop, no, help God, help. Yes, that is, so that's what happened that morning. As a matter of fact, it was the Monday or Tuesday before I actually gave my testimony that you just finished watching. So it was great, man, it was great. So I was dog and house sitting, right? And there was a big Weimaraner and a dog, not quite so big, but still a big dog. And what do you think they did? You know, they're sleeping, they're dogs, they're sleeping, right? And they're right there on the bed next to me. So when I start going, wait, stop, help God, help! What do you think they did? Yep, right in my face. They got some big old dogs, look at my face, and I am now laughing. I am hysterical, because I'm attempting to push these dogs away, right? And they're just pushing back, because now I'm laughing, so that even makes it worse. And now, was that a God intervention or what, right? So, although it's taken me this long to explain that story, it didn't take like 5 seconds for all that to happen. And so I wanted to share with you how good God is, because I have nothing to offer you except for Papa. And when I offer you Papa, I'm offering you everything you need, everything your heart desires. And so that's what this part of the video is about. I wanted to let you know there's hope. No matter what's going on in your life, your family's life, your ministry life, your work life, maybe you don't have a work life, maybe you don't have a family, maybe you don't have a ministry, maybe you hate God, maybe you hate people like me, I don't know. Maybe you love people like me, I don't know. But wherever you are, God knows you. Even if you don't know that he knows you, okay? Or even if you don't think he's good, I get that. Oh my goodness, he was worse than the enemy. He was worse than Satan himself years ago when I first started recovery. That's what my core belief was. He was worse than Satan. So if that's where you are, no worries. He's bigger. He loves you. Even if you hate him. Even if you don't think he exists. Got that one? All right. So let me move on. Get off that part. And just wanted to say, even though I haven't met you, if you were standing right in front of me, and if you wanted, I would give you a hug, and I would look you in the eyes, and I'd say, I love you. And you might say, Melanee, that's impossible. There's no way you could love me. You don't even know me. You're right, I can. But God who lives in me loves you. And I want to, and I desire with every part of my being to love God as he loves me, and to love others as I love myself. So I can say I love you. Now whether or not you like that or can receive that, or if you think I'm just doing some kind of baloney, phony, whatever, no worries. But you know what? Maybe one day we can meet, and I can tell you that face to face. Anyway, so there you go. That's my little wrap it up, follow up. Got 75 days, I'm excited. Woohoo! Yeah, got a load of. Okay, that's it for now. I gotta go. Love you, bye. Oh, thanks for letting me share. Hey y'all, yes, one more time. Let's call this the addendum to the addendum, right? Okay, I forgot some things. So I'm now here in the library just to give you a little different background, and because I love books, and right behind me are some of my favorite authors, some of my favorite writers, Corrie ten Boom and Johnny Erickson Tada. Love them. Okay, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to let you know what are some of the parts I left out in the addendum, the first addendum. And that was 3 really important things. First one, so it was read earlier, a few moments ago, about how I may be responding, possibly. What does that mean? Well, that means that if Papa gives me the green light to respond to you, if you write, then I will. But if Papa does not give me the green light to respond to you, then I won't. Just that simple. A boundary from him to me. Okay, got that? All right. But this is the cool thing. He has given me a commitment. He has asked me to pray for each and every person who contacts me. So, if you write, share your story, you're going to have some prayers. And I'll just be straight up about it, whether you want the prayers or not. They're coming your way, baby. They are coming your way. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Second thing. So I touched on the 5 ways I was tempted, or 5 different times I was tempted. And the first 2 were like the ones with the dogs. Okay? That was the week before my testimony. The third temptation, not the group, the temptations. Okay, just make that clear. The third temptation, I was in some extreme physical pain. All right? And I'm just like going crazy. I'm like ready to pull my hair out. And all of a sudden it hit me. Call a friend, call a friend, call a friend. So I did. I picked up that 500-pound phone. I called a friend. Ta-da! Boom. She helped me walk through the processing, and she also helped me with some homeopathic remedies. Good to go. Whew. Well, weeks went by until just last week. And twice last week. The first time was worse, second time not so bad. The first time, I think it was a week ago, I'm not 100% sure on that. I woke up and it felt like I was drugged. It was more than just being exhausted. I was in a stupor. That would be the best way I know how to explain it. And I heard Papa immediately say, Melanee, not in a mean way, firm, but not mean. Melanee, put your feet on the floor, take your supplements, and call a friend. Well, I didn't quite go, yes, sir, because I was in such a stupor. But basically, my obedience to him was, yes, sir. And then the next thing I know, my feet are on the floor. I've taken my supplements, and I have picked up that 500-pound phone and called a friend. Ta-da! It took a little longer than I expected. 20 minutes worth of a phone call. But let me tell you, 20 minutes of a phone call is way better than 24 hours, 2 weeks, or whatever of depression. Trust me. And it was free. Free. So, that happened later on in the week. 10 minutes phone call. Still, wow. So, all that to say, going into the third part now, is how did I have those 75 days of good days in a row? And how did I come out of so many different unhealthy ways of living over these last 2.5, well, not quite 2.5, almost 23 years of freedom? How did I? Papa. Now, I've already said that, right? You might, what are you repeating yourself for? But there's an important part that I forgot, and I actually want to read it to you. It's that important to me. This is what I want you to see. He loves me. That's the part I want you to know. It's, I was saying, it's about Papa, it's about Papa. But this is the part I didn't clearly say. It's me realizing Papa loves me. Me receiving his love, it coming inside and staying inside of me. And then, it doesn't just stay inside of me. His love comes out. And the way his love comes out is when I obey him. A friend of mine, his name's Bob Hamp. Check him out if you have time. He calls it receiving, containing, broadcasting. Yes, Bob, that's just for you. But what I'm saying about that is, it is Papa doing for me what I cannot do for myself. The dog's licking my face, honey, I could not have planned that, right? Total God gift. Him giving me the command, put your feet on the floor, take your supplements, and call a friend. Woohoo! Well, that's where he gives me the option. Obey him or disobey him. Just that plain and simple. When I obey him, woo, doggy, It is good stuff. I mean, that is abundant life, okay? When I disobey him, it's bad. It's bad. So that's the part I wanted to make sure. You know how I'm going to respond to you. You know I'm going to be praying for you. Clarification on the different ways, including hunger, that I can be tempted and triggered. It's all also back to the boundaries part about Papa doing for me what I cannot do for myself. Him directing me to do what I can do. And all because he loves me. He loves me. Yep. And you know what? He loves you. And as I said a few moments ago, I do too. And that rhymes. I'm so excited. I love rhymes. Okay, so gotta go. Way too long already. But I did need to clarify some things. So God bless you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. In his great love, Melanee D. P.S. These are the top 12 publicly known people whom Papa has used to powerfully invest in my life. They are listed in chronological order of my being introduced to them and or their writings. King Yeshua, of course, Corrie ten Boom, Brother Andrew, Johnny Erickson Tata, Dan Allender, Henry Nouwen, C.S. Lewis, Cy Rogers, Joe Dallas, John Eldridge, Henry Cloud, and Bob Hamp.